the big.
So what have you found for me? What have you got?
Oh man, Mike, this is
Huh?
swamp. This is swamp
Swamp.
files.
The swamp donkeys.
It's swamp gas files, man. And it ain't about it, not just about. It's all about aliens and extraterrestrials and weird
Right.
events. But I think the main thing about swamp gas files is the lack of transparency the government or the authorities are being or show demonstrating to the
Right.
public, kind of like with the aliens and the UFOs, and we're even seeing it here with our local news and their assassination attempts, things like
Right.
that. Just this kind of like swamp gas. Everything is it's just swamp gas. So don't
Yeah.
worry
Don't worry
about it.
about this. There's nothing to see here. Move along.
Right. So along those lines, and I think even though this show isn't specifically about extraterrestrials, I think it's about the government not being transparent with events that are really rocking the nation. I mean, it's just
Right.
not a small localized event. It's an event that has grasped the attention of the nation, and they kind of like are slow walking it. They don't seem to really be pursuing closure or finding out what's going on. So it leads a lot. It creates a lot of conspiracies, rabbit trails. People are like, "What's going on? It must be this, must be that." So, kind of what I've done is I put together a bubble chart. Ta-da!
Oh. Oh. I wondered how long it would take to get to this point.
Yeah,
Usually it takes years.
yes. This is all in my head, and I wrote it out on a whiteboard. But it
That
kind of
whiteboard is all you had all that information in your head.
stuff. I think it's 30 words, all in my head. I had to get it out.
Wow. No wonder you had to get that whiteboard.
So
All that
anyway,
information up there
yeah,
is
that's
sitting
what's been
there. All right. Okay.
driving
So
me
what do we got?
crazy.
What do we got?
Well, we're talking
That's right.
about that attempted assassination we had a month ago now. It was a month right here. One murder and three injured
Right.
just in that one event. And it seems like
Right.
they're not really leading the public to where initially within 24 hours they said, oh, some guy tried to kill Trump and he's a lone shooter. He's got no
Right.
associates. And now it's kind of it appears that he's not alone. And they came up with that conclusion so quickly. People are like, "Wait a minute, you haven't even investigated it yet." So, anyways, by their lack of transparency, we come up with a lot of things. And I started out, the assassination, right? And they've determined that it's crooks. But then there's a lot of things that have transpired since then. Uh, Everyone's kind of in agreement that it is crooks, but they
Right.
won't release the details of the autopsy. And ablechild.com, they've FOIA'd it. They're trying to get the autopsy information, but it's kind of they won't release it because for whatever reason they're not family. There's this kind of like, well, it should be belong to the public. This is all tax dollars. So in a way, they're not really confirming that it's crooks, which brings up the question. There's an associate. I sent you the article of crooks, and that's Maxwell
Right.
Yearon. And did you
You're
find out
yeah. What
anything
was
about him?
I was going to, and then you
That's okay.
sent me a link.
Right, and it was just um, he's associated with crooks. I don't remember exactly how. Maybe a visitor to his home, but
Mm-hmm.
what what pointed to him was, well, there are a couple of things. There was a van that was parked in the parking lot, a white van that had plates. Someone was able to get the plates. They traced the plates back to, and I believe it's either New Mexico or Arizona, and it belonged to a firearms dealer who also dealt in explosives. who belongs to the family with the last name Urich. And so Maxwell is assumed to be part of this family. And so now it's kind of like, well, the explosives was made that were found in the van or found in Crooks's car may come from this firearms dealer, possibly. We don't know.
Right.
But anyways, the day after the assassination attempt, Maxwell's family called and reported him missing. So as far as we know, he hasn't been found yet. So it's kind of like, well, did he drive the van to, this rally and then end up getting up on the roof and shooting? And could it be Maxwell's body that's not being released to the public, and they're just putting it on Crooks because Crooks has left the country or whatever? But anyway, that's just kind of a rabbit hole. I mean,
Crooks in one sense or another has left the planet. He's dead.
Somebody's dead. We believe it's Crooks is dead. But,
okay, so basically they're withholding so much information that we're not really even sure that Crooks is the body that they have.
Well, the autopsy, the medical examiner said, oh, yes, it's Crooks. But he won't release the autopsy.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's kind of like, because there was a report, a surgeon who worked a lot of years in the trauma ER, saw a lot of gunshot wounds and investigations involving gunshots. She saw the pictures of Crooks laying on the roof, and she's like, there's no brain matter, there's no blood splatter. It looks like he got laid there after he was shot, because there was some blood trickling out. I saw a picture, out of his head and on down the roof. But she said, if you got shot with, I'm assuming probably, I'm not
that's
sure
what
high-powered,
right? They're high-powered sniper rifle. So
it probably a 50 caliber, would kind of blow half his head off. So anyways, there's some questions about the autopsy, why, let's release it. Let's find out who it is. We know he's dead. It's not like we know he was shot in the head. So I don't know what they would be hiding with the autopsy. And also associate with the shooting. I'm not going to go into all like we had discussed in our previous shows about the rooftops and this elevation and, right. I don't want to get into all that. We've already been through that. I just want to get down some of these rabbit trails where a witness that was there on scene got picked up by the police and questioned. First, he was picked up by the FBI, then the police came and contacted him. So he kind of ran in several law enforcement agents over the course of several days. But just recently, he posted on his X or his Twitter feed that he was being the day of the shooting, he was being questioned by law enforcement, and he overheard on the radio,
radio chatter, or maybe that was you and I talking about it.
Someone said there's blood in the sink over the radio, and then we still haven't found the second shooter, or something like that. Something is kind of like, and he remembers that as like, wow, that's weird. But like I said, it's unsubstantiated, meaning it's just hearsay. He's saying he heard this. But if he heard it over the radio, that's very easy. I was in law enforcement. All your radio traffic, especially on a day like that where there's a lot going on and it's going to be a case, that's all preserved. You can always access that. It can be FOIA'd. The public should have access to that radio traffic, and that would tell you whether that was actually said or not. Was that in the log of all the radio traffic? So that is evidence that should be preserved and easily, proven whether it's true or
verified.
False.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they found the guy, I'm sure they ran his ID. So they would have known the exact time they had interaction with this individual and would be able to reference what was the radio traffic was. So that's interesting that this came up a few days ago about this overhearing this radio chat. So that kind of brings us back to, if you look at the second shooter here, I got a line going up to Max because it's believed Max was at the rally also somehow, some way. and there's a water tower that I don't know if you saw the video. There's a water tower that had good line of sight. It's further away from the target,
Mhm.
but it's a good elevated position, good line of sight. And there's video evidence of somebody being on the water tower on that day around the time of the shoot.
Well, I think this is really, and you brought this up earlier. There's like this arrogance inside, or seemingly so, from an outside perspective. When you hear this stuff, the way they treat public access to government information or information held by the government, you're treated as a like a nuisance, a pariah, and you're right. This is across the board where government agencies feel like they are no longer servants of the public. They don't have to answer to the public. And if you want information, you're going to have to go through the bureaucratic maze.
Right,
and
right.
There's a level of like understanding, like, yes, there is information out there that should be secure, but this kind of stuff, this is all after the fact. You know what I mean?
This
is all,
and now we got to protect these other rallies.
The event has already happened. You supposedly have the shooter, right? Supposedly they have the body, he's dead, but it's like information is locked down even harder. So you can't even see what really happened. Well, you don't know. It becomes more confusing. And if you look, I mean, a lot of this information I'm looking at, so I just did Maxwell Urich, Googled under their news search. All this is 1 month ago. Fact check, convicted anti-Trump protester falsely identified as shooter 1 month ago. Maxwell Urich named as, that's 1 month ago. 1 month ago, 4 weeks ago, 1 month ago. There's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, let me see if I can change this. I probably can change the most recent. Past hour. I mean, I'm just seeing if you can. Anyway, it just seems to me there's nothing. If you put, there's nothing recent. It's like nobody's reporting on this. It's done. They're done.
I don't know if you've heard about the Iranian assassin that came to the United States to kill Trump.
Yes, you were telling me about that. Yeah. But other than that, I haven't.
He came through, I think it was JFK. I'm not sure which airport, but he was actually stopped by the FBI and questioned because he came out on a watch out for list, meaning if this guy tries to come to the country, we need to talk to him. He wasn't necessarily on a, no fly or he's on basically, I guess, a terrorist watch where they would kind of, find out. Hopefully you'd think they'd send him home, but they didn't. They contacted him, they questioned him, and in the report that came out, the questioning FBI agent said that he was polite and cooperative, so they let him go.
Well, really, that's all you're looking for, right?
Yeah. So I think he's the only terrorist that exists who's polite and cooperative. See, that's where the other ones are screwing up.
Boy, I'll tell you what, had he been rude, it would have been a whole different story. He'd have been looking at the inside of an uncomfortable, smaller room for half an hour.
Yes.
So he smartened up real quick and said, "It's the small."
He is extremely well trained.
This is how you get out a half an hour early. Be really, really polite. Okay. Now we know what.
Go ahead. Obviously, sometimes they'll let people go because they're going to follow him and see where he goes. You collect more intelligence. Yeah, supposedly. But later on, local law enforcement, I guess he started hiring people to kill Trump, and he contacted a couple undercover cops, and then they reported it to the FBI, so the FBI got involved after local law enforcement actually brought FBI's attention to him again.
The FBI got involved, helping him acquire assassins for the job. Anyway, yeah.
How polite you are. If you've got a gun or you're trying to hurt someone, yeah, they're going to go. No matter how polite you're doing it, how courteous you are.
Please help me find someone to assassinate the president. Real. But I think there's such an arrogance in these agencies. They just go, what are they going to do about it? What can they do? Exactly. We're going to give them a story. They can believe it or don't, and then we'll make them look like fools because it's all obviously they're all conspiracy theorists, like Mel Gibson in the show, who's crazy.
Yeah,
we're obviously the crazy people because we're asking reasonable questions.
Right,
but we're crazy conspiracy theorists, and then you kind of go, well, how much other stuff are they lying to us? If they think we're that stupid, then they're lying to us about everything because. Really, why not? Why just lie about a few things when you can lie about everything? I mean, it really, you kind of go, oh, this is just unbelievable. What's that?
I think we pretty much beat this horse to death.
You think so? I think the horse is still moving, Chris. Let's make sure
these for today.
Yes, you're right. All right, it's always fun. It's always fun.
All right, yes, there'll be another day. Swamp Gas Files. Salute.
Swamp Gas Files. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have to dig up something else. Pick up another dead horse.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty. All right. All right, Mike.
All right.
See you later.